Biden took aim at what the White House calls the extreme wing of the Republican Party during a primetime speech tonight.
CBS 2's Dick Brennan here now with more on the president's remarks. Dick.
Well, Maurice and Christine, this was a scathing speech aimed at what the president called over and over again Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans, separating them from mainstream Republicans. Mr. Biden was at Independence Hall. He said to argue for the soul of America, but he was also making the Democratic case for the midterm elections.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans represent an extremism that threatens the very foundations of our republic.
President Biden says democracy is at risk and puts the blame firmly on the followers of former President Trump, whom he vows to stop.
I will not stand by and watch. I will not the will of the American people be overturned by wild conspiracy theories and baseless evidence-free claims of fraud. I will not stand by and watch elections in this country stolen by people who simply refuse to accept that they lost.
The president also laid out what sounded like Democratic midterm talking points, insisting Trump forces want to send the nation in reverse.
Backwards to an America where there is no right to choose, no right to privacy, no right to contraception, no right to marry who you love.
Mr. Biden pointed to the January 6th attacks as evidence that Trump supporters don't respect the rule of law. And the White House also singled out Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who last week said this about Dr. Anthony Fauci.
Someone needs to grab that little elf and chuck him across the Potomac.
A new Quinnipiac poll shows some 67% of people believe democracy is in danger of collapse. House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy gave a rebuttal to the president before he even spoke.
Joe Biden is right. Democracy is on the ballot in November. And Joe Biden and the radical left in Washington are dismantling Americans' democracy before our very eyes.
And former Trump aide Stephen Miller said tonight it's the president who's dividing the country.
He is truly and irrevocably now committed to splitting this country in two and beginning an era of division and an era of hatred that will wound our soul if it is not repaired for generations to come.
So when people hear MAGA extremists, they'd actually put me into this group, but they can't because I'm not a registered voter. And on top of that, I'm on the record millions of times saying that I don't support Donald Trump. I don't support Joe Biden. And I always hear people say, well, Trump's the lesser of two evils. Well, what's the difference if they're both evil? They're working together. He might be funnier. If I had to pick between the two, of course I would pick Trump. He's better on the mic. He's more charismatic. This other guy's a dead walking corpse. But once you realize what they're doing, then you realize how they're trying to play people into this. And that's all that this is a play. It's two people playing a role. The ultimate goal is to conquer our society and to rebuild the government, the New World Order government. It cannot be what it is now. Capitalism cannot exist. A republic cannot exist. Your vote could not count. Now, I sit here and I say your vote doesn't count and it hasn't counted. And you might say, well, then what's going on? Why are they, if it doesn't count, then what's the point of all this? Well, if people found out that both sides of government were working them, if they found out that Trump and Biden were underground and they were going out to dinner and they were best buddies and they called them on record talking about how they were going to do this and cause civil unrest and how they were doing it to destroy the democracy, you don't think that both sides would finally rise up together and fight against this because there's more of us than them? Now, by dividing people and doing this, you create tension between the civilians. You create warfare between the civilians, right? You ostracize one side, then you go after the other side. You go play both sides of the seesaw. One side's mad, then the other's mad. Bop, bop, bop. From Trump to Biden to whatever's coming next, which is likely Trump, right? And then they tell you this is a threat to our democracy because that's what's coming, the destruction of our democracy. But this is all coordinated. You see, it's not Donald Trump and the MAGA that's going to destroy it. It's not the satanic liberals who are going to destroy it. It's all of these Satanists in power who are already destroying it, who may have, we could say, already destroyed it. And who's going to take the blame for all of it? All the citizens. That's how they're going to get away with this, by saying, look, citizens did this. They voted in MAGA. They're responsible. And then whatever the plan is with Trump to destroy this country further will go through. Civil wars and all these things as they bait people and exhaust people. Back and forth, back and forth. You're gay, I'm not. You like guns, I don't. Let's fight, let's not. You like abortion, I don't. Pointless, 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 pointless crap. Where in reality, the people never have had control. They do these things to drive people nuts. They do these things to empower people. Thus, when all of the smoke clears and this new world government is in place, Everybody will think it's good because they'll say it's better than the way it was. Because you think it's bad now, it's only going to get worse. They're going to destroy the economy and everything else. And people are going to say, well, it's better than it was because things were really out of hand. And they're going to like the new world government. But they have to destroy this first. So Biden going on TV, people are like, oh man, he's causing more division. I thought he was here to unify. Neither side's here to unify. And the whole purpose is to blame one another. Because when you start blaming one another, guess who doesn't get blamed? Both sides, Republicans and liberals, working together cohesively to do this to the American people. This country has to bow and fall on its knees. And it's not going to do it to God. This country is going to fall on its knees because it's going to do it to itself. It's going to cut the legs out from underneath itself, as the expression goes. Right? We're going to give up our rights. Our rights are really going to be taken from us. But they're going to convince people here to give up their rights and then thus take away other people's rights, because that's what we've seen. Like, look where free speech has come in the last 3, 4, 5 years. I mean, you look no further. I'm sure, you see what I deal with on YouTube. But I know every one of you deals with it too on Facebook or whatever you're on. You constantly, I get messages, they blocked you on here. You're suspended from there. Oh, okay. Well, don't think that everybody in control is just doing this and planning on just doing this to, people like me and you. This is going to happen to both sides eventually. The seesaw is going to go back and forth and everything is going to be destroyed. So Biden going on TV talking about these things and dividing people. How come that's the missing term here? Conquer. How come that doesn't come into people's minds? Well, divide. What comes after divide? Conquering. Oh, okay. So as our government, from Trump's side to Biden's side, the right to the left, as they divide everyone here, who do you think is here to be conquered? Us. Blame one another. And they'll blame Biden, but they'll say, well, you voted for him. Or the other side will blame Trump and they'll say, you're MAGA extremists. You voted for him. Instead of saying, who cares about Trump? Who cares about Biden? Don't people just want the world to go back to the way it was? And by that, I mean, don't people just want to be left alone? That's all I want in life. Just leave me alone. They can have all the money they want. They can have all the power they want. I don't care. I don't want money. I don't want power. They want private jets. Go ahead. Go ahead. What we want is to be left alone, but they want, inside our bodies. They want inside of our emails. They want inside of our bank accounts. They want inside of the air that we breathe, to know every step and every piece of data that they can know about us. And they're obsessed with it. But if everybody just looked at this and said, hey, why even support one side or the other? Because they're all corrupt and let's get them out of here. All of them. That's not destroying the democracy. It's exploiting the fake mirage that is and has been this country's government for quite some time, because it hasn't been a democracy for a long time. But now it's time for them to let you know that it's not a democracy anymore.